but you've had to almost compartmentalize yourself to adapt as you go on, right? You have your home self, and then you have your work self. And I do believe fundamentally, to be successful, you have to merge the two.
How does a person answer why something happens?
When you look at the findings in different fields,
scant is the part of life in which we live.
To attain the highest values.
What was like the most difficult thing to learn and to do on a sort of day in, day out basis?
I think this is still something I'm learning. What made me successful in building companies or building nonprofits or scaling early days and means that you're not used to all the politics in a big organization, right? So you tend to move fast. I like to move fast. I like to make decisions. That can run into challenges around building alignment, building consensus, building, all the internal politics. I think that's compounded. I have a small group of female CEOs and executives that we meet regularly. I think that gets compounded when you're a woman, because I think that, there's something, and it's not formally taught. I love that you're about informal learning, but it becomes this bias that you have to be strong and tough and not show empathy and just be, a go-getter, right? To survive, right? And in particular in sort of predominantly male environments. And so you learn and you adapt to that behavior, but you start to cap out, right? Because that behavior is not rewarded as you get more and more senior. But you haven't really learned how to be political, if I'm being really honest, in these organizations, because you just kind of worked with brute force, right? To kind of push things through. So that is an adaptive style that I certainly have to continue to work on. And I know many of the women that I meet with regularly also, have had to really dig in to kind of figure out how to exercise, I'd say, that new muscle.
Yeah. And it's almost like playing a role, which is potentially not who you are authentically.
Correct.
At home, right? And I think we'll get to this later as well, like integrating work and life and that. But I mean, do you think that it does, playing that political game, and it's almost like you have to at some point play some of that. It comes at the expense of being true to yourself and being authentic and just potentially being better and having more fun at what you're doing in the workplace.
I 100% agree, and I love that you're asking this question. I've thought about this a lot for women, which is, I think that on the one hand you have, and I certainly got a lot of this feedback too, which is they say, I see you with your children and you're so loving and nurturing and you're hugging them, you're giving them like they're squishy kids, right? And I'm giving them all kinds of love. They're like, well, we want you to show that to the company, that side, but you've had to almost compartmentalize yourself to adapt as you go on, right? You have your home self, and then you have your work self. And I do believe fundamentally, to be successful, you have to merge the two, because I think operating these two selves is very challenging. It's very taxing. And you bring authentically your the softer side, right? And I've tried to do that a lot and encourage other women, that it's, and obviously COVID has changed all of those dynamics, right? You're inside people's homes, you see their pets and their families and their bedrooms, you know what I mean? Like it is a completely different, you're into the self more than you've ever been, right? But I do believe that they need to come together for both men and women. I think because it hasn't been rewarded, right? And so different things were rewarded at different times.